In today's video, we'll cover the story of Lotara Sarrin, one of the most remarkable humans to serve alongside the Astartes during the Horus Heresy. As the captain of the Conqueror, the flagship of the World Eaters, Lotara's journey is filled with moments of triumph, tragedy, and ultimate transformation. We'll follow her rise through the ranks, her role during pivotal battles, and her eventual fate aboard the Conqueror. Lotara Sarrin was born into a noble family and quickly distinguished herself through her talent for void warfare. Known for her aggressive tactics and quick decision-making, she thrived in ship-to-ship combat. Her natural leadership and tactical genius earned her command of the Conqueror at the young age of 30, a remarkable achievement given the scale of the ship and the violent nature of its crew, the World Eaters. Yet Lotara's unyielding attitude and sharp mind allowed her to gain the respect of these bloodthirsty warriors, a relationship that was cemented by her confrontations with Angron himself. In fact, it can be argued that Angron respected, perhaps even liked, Lotara, a rare sentiment given his brutal nature and history. However, the loyalty she had earned from Angron and the World Eaters was only the beginning of her journey. As the Horus Heresy unfolded, Lotara would face the darkest trials of her career on a path that would take her and the Conqueror deeper into chaos, joining forces with Lorgar Aurelian and the Word-Bearers in the brutal Shadow Crusade. Together, the World Eaters and Word-Bearers tore through Ultramar's 500 worlds, with Lotara's command of the Conqueror proving crucial to the campaign's success. This crusade culminated in the battle on Nuceria, Angron's tormented homeworld, where the deeper motivations of the traitors began to unfold. For Lorgar and Angron, Nuceria was not merely a battlefield, but a place deeply connected to Angron's past of betrayal, pain, and fury. Lorgar believed the planet could play a vital role in saving Angron by transforming him into a demon prince, freeing him from the butcher's nails. Initially, the battle for Nuceria was a brutal campaign against the planet's government and defenses, a slaughter that saw the traitor legions devastate all in their path. But the course of the battle took a sudden and dramatic turn with the arrival of Rabut Guilliman, who launched a surprise counterattack as vengeance for the traitors' brutal assault on Calth. The Lord of Ultramar forces descended with calculated fury, catching the traitors off guard and placing them under immense pressure. This was a critical moment for the World Eaters and Word-Bearers, and Lotara's tactical skill became instrumental in the ensuing void battle. With Guilliman's forces now entering the fray, Lotara found herself in a real battle, facing opponents as skilled as, or even surpassing, her own abilities. This was a fight that would demand every ounce of her strategic prowess. From the command deck on the Conqueror, Lotara marveled at Guilliman's tactical brilliance, watching as he skillfully coordinated his fleet to counter the traitor's advance. Recognizing the gravity of the threat, she used her own mastery of void warfare to turn the tide. Her daring maneuvers targeted and destroyed several of Guilliman's ships that were en route to reinforce the ground assault, depriving Guilliman of precious manpower. Without Lotara's intervention, it could be argued that Guilliman might have succeeded in breaking both the World Eaters and Word-Bearers. Her actions during this phase of the battle not only showcased her skill, but also underscored the respect she had earned even among the most hardened Astartes. However, while Lotara had secured a vital victory in space, the battle for the Conqueror was far from over. As Guilliman's forces regrouped, they saw an opportunity to exploit a vulnerability aboard the ship, one left exposed not by Lotara, but by the ambition of a World Eater seeking glory on the surface below. With most of the World Eaters on the planet's surface, Guilliman's Ultramarines took advantage of the situation, launching a boarding assault on the Conqueror. Normally, a contingent of World Eater Astartes would have been left aboard to defend the ship. But Captain Delvarus, seeking personal glory and the thrill of battle, had taken his warriors planetside, leaving the Conqueror critically exposed. His decision to abandon his duty in the ship's defense became a costly mistake. Faced with the impending ultramarine boarding party, Lotara acted swiftly. She chose to awaken several of the Legion's ancient dreadnoughts who had been in stasis prior to the heresy and were unaware of the Legion's allegiance to Horus. Although initially confused by their situation, the dreadnoughts rose to the defense of the Conqueror, repelling the ultramarines at a high cost. Many of these dreadnoughts were lost in the process, and the ship's mortal crew suffered heavy casualties. But Lotara's quick thinking and command of the dreadnoughts allowed the Conqueror to withstand the boarding assault, underscoring her ability to make high-stakes decisions under pressure. When Delvarus returned to the Conqueror, he found Lotara waiting for him, furious at his failure to uphold his duty. Without hesitation, she confronted him in the landing bay and shot him in the head with a las pistol, a shot that symbolized her unyielding stance on loyalty and duty. Though Delvarus survived, her actions sent a clear message. Lotara tolerated no betrayal, even from a warrior as decorated as Delvarus. The tension escalated when some of Delvarus's men aimed their weapons at Lotara, threatening to retaliate. However, in a display of her authority and the respect she commanded, several World Eaters sided with Lotara. These loyal Astartes stepped forward, facing down Delvarus and his supporters, making it clear that any who dared to defy the ship's captain would be punished. Lotara's authority on the Conqueror was undeniable, and even in the midst of chaos, her resolve to command was unwavering. This confrontation reflected both the fierce loyalty she inspired and the cracks forming within the Legion, as chaos continued to pull the World Eaters deeper into madness. Despite successfully dealing with the threat posed by Delvarus's reckless choice, Lotara felt the growing weight of maintaining control amidst the chaos. The Void battle may have been won, but the Conqueror and its crew bore heavy losses, signaling that the victory on Nuceria had come at an unspeakable cost. Yet, even as Lotara grappled with the mounting toll aboard the Conqueror, events on the surface grew darker still. As the battle raged below, Lorgar proceeded with his ritual to transform Angron into a demon prince, a process that horrified many, even among the traitors. In a final desperate attempt to prevent this transformation, two of Lotara's closest allies, Librarian Esker and the Legion Master Dreadnought, fought to stop the ritual, but ultimately fell to Angron's wrath. Their deaths left Lotara increasingly isolated, her circle of trusted allies shattered in the wake of chaos. With the transformation complete, Angron's presence brought an intensified wave of corruption aboard the Conqueror. What began as a campaign of brutality on Nuceria ended with a sense of irrevocable loss, not just for Lotara's crew, but for Lotara herself. The victory on Nuceria marked the beginning of the end. Her allies gone, the crew succumbing to madness, and the Conqueror spiraling into the grip of chaos. In the shadow of Angron's transformation, the triumph at Nuceria became a tragic turning point, foreshadowing Lotara's own dark fate aboard the ship she fought so hard to protect. With the battle for Nuceria behind them, Lotara and the Conqueror joined the traitor legions on their journey to Terra, the heart of the Emperor's empire. By this time, chaos had fully corrupted the Conqueror, turning it into a twisted reflection of the madness consuming its crew. Angron's transformation into a demon prince had intensified the berserk fury of the World Eaters, leaving the ship itself a blood-soaked arena of relentless violence. The Conqueror seemed to pulse with an almost organic malice. Decks were infested with vermin, entire chambers became seething hot, and even the walls appeared to throb with a living warmth that turned the ship into an enemy of its own crew. The Conqueror itself had become a twisted reflection of the madness consuming its crew, turning it into an unforgiving enemy to those within its haunted corridors. As the Conqueror descended further into corruption, its twisted influence began to show in Lotara herself. Her own body and mind started to mirror the decay overtaking the ship, binding her fate ever closer to that of the vessel she commanded. Her physical condition began to mirror the deteriorating state of her ship. She endured infestations of lice that plagued the crew, personal exhaustion so profound that she resorted to synthetic stimulants crafted from Khan's own blood to stay functional. The lice infestation was so severe that even her ear canals had to be regularly flushed, and her command throne became a place of physical torment. The once proud captain had stopped caring about her appearance. Her temples were now streaked with grey, and the toll of the heresy was evident on every crew member she encountered. Her resilience, once a symbol of strength, became both a necessity and a curse, binding her tighter to the Conqueror, even as her body and spirit suffered. As Lotara's physical state declined, her bond with the Conqueror took on a disturbing new dimension. It was as if the ship itself began to recognize her suffering, binding her to it with a force that went beyond mere loyalty, shifting into a twisted partnership of dependency and control. There was an almost twisted intimacy between Lotara and her ship. She began to sense that the Conqueror was alive in a way that went beyond mere machinery. It was as if the ship itself sought to keep her close, not as a commander, but as a captive. Lotara found herself haunted by the Conqueror's strange, almost loving hostility. The ship didn't just obey her commands, it seemed to try to please her, haunting her with visions of lost comrades and echoing cries across the Vox channels. Rather than kill her, it was as if the Conqueror wanted her to bear witness to its descent, a perverse partnership that bound them together in suffering. But while the Conqueror had tightened its grip on Lotara, others sought freedom from the madness engulfing the ship. For them, escape was the only hope. But for Lotara, leaving was never an option. Her loyalty had become so intertwined with the Conqueror that she could only see one course of action: to act as a double agent and ensure that no one deserted the ship she was bound to. In the midst of this horror, a small group of World Eaters led by Sergeant Skane planned to escape the cursed vessel. As the ship approached Terra, they saw a chance to flee, desperate to escape the corruption that had overtaken the Conqueror. Lotara appeared to join them, but her loyalty to the Conqueror remained unwavering. Acting as a double agent, she infiltrated their plan while feeding information back to Khan and waiting for the right moment to betray them. When the escape shuttles launched, Lotara revealed her true intentions. She had secretly coordinated with Khan, and as the shuttles took off, she commanded the Conqueror's guns to fire upon them, destroying many of her former allies and those who had been her last comrades. In a final act of devotion, she executed Skane herself, sealing her allegiance to the ship and ensuring that no one would abandon the Conqueror. Her loyalty had become indistinguishable from madness. After Skane's betrayal, any remaining part of Lotara's identity outside the Conqueror dissolved. She was no longer just a captain. She had become a part of the ship itself, bound in spirit and purpose. As the Conqueror spiraled further into chaos, Lotara's body and mind fused with its machine spirit, transforming her into the Mistress. Her form, now a twisted husk, became one with the vessel, and her once proud identity as a skilled commander gave way to an unending, haunting presence. As the ship's spectral guardian, she enforced her commands with deadly precision against any who disobeyed, bound to the Conqueror for eternity. Lotara's spirit persisted aboard the Conqueror for 10,000 years, even long after the heresy had ended. Known to the crew as the Mistress, her presence served as a constant reminder of her unbreakable loyalty to the vessel. When Angron returned in current lore, Lotara's spectral form once again renewed its loyalty to the Primarch, forever bound to the ship she once commanded. In the grim darkness of the far future, Lotara Sarrin's legacy endures as a haunting testament to the price of unyielding loyalty. Her transformation from a celebrated commander to the spectral warden of the Conqueror is a tragic reminder of what it means to surrender everything in service of a cause. While her skill in void combat and tactical acumen earned her the respect of even her brutal Astartes crew, it was her unbreakable bond with the Conqueror that ultimately defined her fate. As a double agent, she sacrificed comrades and relationships to preserve the ship she had come to see as her only duty. Ultimately, Lotara's tale reveals the dual-edged nature of loyalty. Bound eternally to the Conqueror, her spirit persists, a symbol of both strength and the consuming power of devotion, haunting the ship she could never leave behind.